Okay, it's Brock here from Rock Hill Farms, and I've got the Hardworking Man YouTube channel here with me.
I'm
Heath, and this is Rachel. She's become the star of Hardworking Man. People say we need to change the name a lot to Hardworking Woman, but she came up with the name, so we're running with it.
So the first thing I always do is ask someone to come in and tell us if the audio is okay, if you guys can hear us. And let's see, we've got 17 people on so far. I guess we can jump right into it. Most of you guys, at least from my channel, know who I am, but I'm going to let you two introduce yourselves and tell them just a little bit about you for my viewers.
All right, I'm Heath, and I sort of started Hardworking Man because my kids wanted me to, and we did it to help other people because we do a lot of firewood content, and a lot of the equipment that you see, you can't get your hands on it unless you go to one of the shows. It's just what you see online. And some people online give good, honest reviews, and some people give you sort of commercial reviews. So we try to be as open and honest as we can and show as much different equipment as we can. And so that's sort of what started it. It was my kids, and I wish I had listened to them sooner and started sooner, but that's what started it all. And then you can talk a little bit about how you got more involved.
It was probably like 10 months after you started, and then you always he does not like to do anything by himself. He always wants someone there.
More fun with someone
it doesn't
else.
matter if he's like changing the brakes. He just wants me to stand there. Like I do nothing. He just wants someone in his presence.
You keep me level.
It like makes the job go better. So he was like, why don't you come out and do this with me? And I was like, I don't even know what I'm doing. And so he's like, I'll show you. So I just kind of like here and there, but like I'm busy and it's not something I always would make time for. But then we went down to the Paul Bunyan show and I got to meet so many people. And then I was like, oh, okay, I know who these people are now. And then I started getting on more and then they would talk to me. So it just kind of became a fun interactive thing for me. And now there's like
Rachel's fan club.
Heath won't make a video without me.
I make videos without you.
I watched one that wasn't very old. That was the comparison between the two splitters, and I was like, "Hey, there's only one person in this one."
I know, but I have to record it.
Well, because people call me out. They're like, "This isn't even your channel." So every once in a while, I got to make my own videos still. Yeah. But it's like she said, it's way more fun with another person when you can, whoever it is, and we have a lot of fun together. So I think that helps.
Is one of you designated as the video editor, and do you guys both enjoy the process of making videos?
I edit all of the videos.
I edit sometimes.
When they're like something that I don't like. What did you do? You were just one of the videos I had you edit. Because I was like, I don't even know what you did. But if I'm part of the video, which is 99% of them, I edit because I know what's going on. But there was one where you did something.
Yeah, it depends. Like initially I did it all. Well, my son started doing it all. He promised to do it all when we started the channel because I didn't know how. And like 4 or 5 episodes in, he was like, I'm out. This takes too long. So then I had to learn. So then I did it. And then we switched to the computer for editing. And that's when Rachel took over the majority of it. I still do some. But what I really like that we do is we both work on almost every video. So whoever does it first, the next person comes through and re-edits it. So if you're watching it and you get bored, you can change it or cut it and then put transitions in and stuff like that. So she does the bulk of it, but we both sort of do it. And I think that helps because I get bored easy, I think, because of my ADHD. So if I'm watching something and I get bored, I can change it or shorten it. So we re-edit each other's editing, if that makes sense.
Right.
So I edit. I do everything myself. I wake up in the morning as I publish every day. And a lot of times I don't know what I'm going to record. I record it that day, edit it that night. And it's kind of like looking at yourself in the mirror. You can't see what everyone else sees. And a lot of times I think, man, I'd really like to have someone just watch this before I publish it and say, was this too boring?
Right.
Did I talk too much? But no one in my family is all that interested in what I'm doing.
And that's where I got really lucky because Rachel has taken an interest. And even outside of that, like when we're out there filming, when I have to film myself, it's hard to get the good shots or to know, like sometimes she'll be like, nope, the sun's bad, or
Yeah.
move here. I can't see this, or,
And he'll say like,
so
oh,
it's
record
super.
me doing this. And I go, no.
Yeah. I have
just
some
am like,
ideas and
no.
she just strikes them off immediately. But if I was by myself, you guys would have to watch all that stuff. So
I
it's
have a
definitely a
problem.
huge help in filming, coming up with ideas and trying to stay fresh and different, and the editing. So without her, you probably wouldn't know who Hardworking Man was.
I just want to say hi to Jack and Brent and Gringo and Kent and Tom. And I want to know, who's he saying? What did he say? Hey, baby. Who are you talking to?
Uh-oh.
Hi, Jeff. Are you talking? Who's hi, baby?
Definitely appreciate anyone taking the little time to spend with us tonight. You guys brought a lot of regular viewers over here, which is awesome.
We mentioned it in a couple of our videos because we try, we were like, please come over, because that's how we feed off our lives, is through everyone that's in the chat. So
I mainly want to talk about your equipment. That's what interests me, but we've got a question here about video making. What kind of cameras do you use?
Well, if we want to talk about equipment, we could talk about both of our Paul Bunyan interviews with each other.
Yeah, neither one of us knew how to use a camera that day.
For those who don't know, our Paul Bunyan video from this year, we interviewed other content creators. So once we came up with the idea, unfortunately, it didn't hit me till I was in the shower after the first day of the show, and I was like, that's what we got to do. And then we saw Brock there on Sunday. You got there late on Sunday, right? And so we saw Brock.
3 or 4 hours.
Yeah, I was like, there's Brock. Like, let's go get him, because you were one of the bigger channels that we got to interview. And we interviewed Brock, and we had our mics we used Komika boom mics, and we either had the receiver turned off or the plug not seated correctly.
Right.
So when we got back, we had 2 videos that had 0 audio: our full video of the Easton Made 40C processor and our interview with Brock. And then when you interviewed us, you had your boom mic turned backwards. And so our audio was bad too. And I'm like, what are the chances?
Yeah, I never turned that mic around, but I thought I'm going to be walking all day with the camera pointing out, so I'll point that back at me. And I just forgot to switch it. So I had all these people walking by. So that was kind of funny. You guys use your phones a lot for the actual video?
So initially when we started, I used just the iPhone, and then we switched to a GoPro 10 or 11, and we had nothing but issues with that. Every other clip would not have audio, or clips wouldn't unload. They'd be corrupted, or, it would overheat, it would stop. It was just a nightmare. So we switched from that. We still have it. We'll use that for time-lapse videos now. And then we went to the Sony ZV-1, which we've been super happy with.
That's our main.
A lot of people are like, your videos are so crisp and so clear. Like, how do you do it? And so the camera is amazing for that. But I will be 100% honest, I'm surprised that we've had it for almost a year and that I haven't destroyed it yet, because it's not an action camera. So
it's funny.
It has outlived its expected life expectancy with me.
I bought the same camera. It's like a $900 camera. I had it like 3 weeks, and I ran over it with the tractor.
Yes, I've dumped my GoPro off the tractor into puddles, stuff like that. I've smashed the tripod with logs. So the fact that it still survived is great. And we just recently picked up an Insta360 action cam, which I really like, and it has really cool features, but the editing is more difficult to get that footage incorporated. But that's a cool camera too, because like I can clamp it to the bar of my saw, and it has a gimbal in it, I believe. So the footage is like smooth as silk running on a chainsaw. And my buddy put it on his Harley Davidson, and there's no vibration. So it's cool, but the editing is beyond my current skill level, if that makes sense.
Hi, Timon. He says hi. And Logger Jason. Don't want to ignore you.
All right.
Jeff still hasn't seen you.
I haven't really run. So I got 3. Well, you just did some videos not too long ago with Okie Woodsman with ported saws. And I just got 3 saws ported. And the only one that I've run much on the channel since is the 50cc. And we got a comment about I've got a Makita 7900 that I got ported. And I haven't had the weather to run it, because I want to run it in big wood. And I've got some big oak logs ready for it, but I can't get to them because they were in my mud yard. And if I picked those up, my tractor and everything would sink. But that will be coming out before long because we're finally getting frozen ground.
Do some bloopers. You know what the
That's
bloopers
one of my
will be?
regular
Me yelling at him to not do whatever he's doing. And then everyone says I'm so mean and he should divorce me. So you don't want to see
Not
that.
everyone.
So I saw you guys running an 044 the other day.
Yeah.
I was wondering what all chainsaws do you actually have? Is that your main saw you use?
So that 044, if I love Facebook Marketplace and I can't turn down a deal. So that's one of the early 044s with the 10 millimeter piston or 10 millimeter something. I'm not a saw expert by any means, but I did some research and there's a 10 millimeter and a 12, I think. And the early ones were the 10 and they're more sought after, but harder to find. And this happened to be one of those. And I got it from the original owner in Canada off Facebook Marketplace for, I believe, $250. And I got his original steel hat that he got with it from the dealer when he bought it with it. So I've got the steel 044. I've got a 036 Pro. I had two of those. I sold one and I'm going to be selling the other one. Then I've got the Makita 7900 that was ported by Dino Joe. I've got an Echo CS501P, a 50cc saw that's quickly becoming my favorite now that it was ported by Dino Joe. And then I got a 25cc rear handle Echo. I forget what model that one is. The CS2511 rear handle one. They make the top handle also, and that one was ported. And I like that saw too. But then I have the 044, and that might be it for. And then I've got a Milwaukee electric and a Milwaukee little hand hatchet. And I have one that I'll be revealing soon that I bought at an auction, but I don't know much about it because it was in a big lot. And I don't even know if it runs. So but I think that's what I have as of right now. What's
your everyday saw and how long of a bar do you put on it?
I would say probably my current one that runs at 044, and I've got a 24-inch bar on it. And then that Echo 50cc saw with, I think that's got an 18-inch bar on it. That thing I love because it's I got an MS260 also. But that Echo, I like the Echo, the ported Echo, better than the MS260 by a million.
Hi, Greg.
Yeah, so I've got like 6 chainsaws, I think. And I thought I would want a small saw for this and different. I just run the 500 all the time.
See, and I had never run a 500, and I want to in the worst way. But like I went to a Firewood show, Hoosier Firewood Hysteria, that was put on by Mike from KNL. And we went to a military veterans campground and made a bunch of wood for him. And I was like, cool, I'm going to get there and get to run a 400C. I've never run one, a 500I, some of the pro grade Huskies I've never run. And all I did for like 9, 10, 11 hours was run the splitter because we made, between everyone that was there, we made probably over 30 full cords of wood for the veterans in one day. And it was exhausting. And I went there to run saws and I didn't touch a single saw the whole day.
Oh, my favorite saw, well, the Echo. That's the one that Heath has only ever let me run.
No, you were in the 044 when I first bought it.
Oh,
that was the first time you ever ran a saw. I'm pretty protective with chainsaws.
He does not want me to run them. Just so
I didn't
you know.
I'm one of the guys, and this is why I love YouTube. I didn't get taught anything about chainsaws. My dad ran them when I was a kid, but he didn't know anything about them. And I didn't know how dangerous chainsaws, felling trees, cutting wood could be. And I was actually cutting down trees in my backyard 15 years ago. And our female neighbor came over and is like, what are you doing? You have no idea what you're doing. Like, you're going to kill yourself. And she gave me my first real lesson on how to properly fell a tree. And I still am by no means an expert at all, but I didn't realize how dangerous it was. So I try to, I guess, help teach people what I can, not being an expert, but having no more than nothing, if that makes sense. If nothing else, make them be aware of the danger that's out there.
I really enjoy tree felling, but the first tree that I ever cut down that was bigger than this was like a 3-foot oak, massive field tree that spread way out, and I cut it down on video. I didn't have any idea what I was doing. And I learned.
I think I watched that one.
YouTube criticism and a couple years and just obsessively watching videos and like going and asking people. And now I just really enjoy cutting down trees.
I love it. And it doesn't matter how good you do it. Somebody's going to tell you that was the worst thing they've ever seen. That's if I ever want to get criticized, I'll just cut down a tree on YouTube.
With an axe, even you get criticized.
One of my most popular videos is a leaning tree, and it's got like 1.3 million views on it. And so I've gotten every kind of comment you can get because I use some off the wall techniques. And yeah, that's it. If you want a negative comment, that's one good place to get it.
It's definitely the place to get it.
All right.
Do you wear safety gear every time you're running a saw?
Every time? Not every time, but I'm much better at it now
Most
than I
every
used to
time.
be. And I wasn't like I used to be, you don't need that. But then even before YouTube, I know two of my friends that have cut their legs, and one of them was real close to killing himself, just cutting brush out of a path. And then he stepped over the brush and hit his leg while the chain was spinning. And he was quite bloody by the time he got to the hospital. And had he cut a little more, he never would have made it to the hospital. So from that, I started to learn. And then, as you know, if you run a saw on YouTube, you're going to get told what you need to wear. And I'm a lot better at wearing it now for the most part from YouTube and just from life experiences. But no, not every time. And I probably should. But
Heath was never raised with any safety precautions
No.
towards him at all. Like we were in high school, or I was in high school and we started dating, and he was like, "We're gonna go sight in our guns." No one had any ear protection. I was like, "I'm going back in the truck. You guys are nuts. You're gonna blow your eardrums out." But they're like, "What do you mean? It's fine. Like it just rings for a little bit."
I'm paying the price now, so I'm much better at keeping my kids' ears protected.
So I came around and started knocking some sense into them and teaching them about safety.
And I get on my dad now because he's getting up there in age, and I tell him, because he'll run chainsaws. He does it just like he always does with no anything. And then a few years ago, he actually broke his neck. He cut a tree that fell on the path to his tree stand, just cut it into pieces that he could move. And it was a freak accident. And I don't know that wearing a helmet would have helped him because he might not have had it on anymore at that time. But he had rolled the tree out of the way up on some brush, and he was standing there just watching the sand erode on the bottom of the river. And that tree rolled back off the brush, and a branch hit him in the back of the head and knocked him out and broke his neck. So had he had his helmet on still, it definitely would have helped. And when I found out that my dad was in the hospital with a broken neck from a tree, I was immediately upset because he won't listen to me about safety gear. And come to find out, it might have helped or it might not have, because who knows if he would have still had it on, or he was done cutting if he would have taken it off. But you never know, I guess.
Oh, wow. Logger Jason put 67 stitches in a knee a couple years back.
Yeah,
I mean, chaps they're a pain. They're a pain in the butt.
You're supposed to wear pants under them in case anyone.
Oh yeah, Rachel had a short without. It was pretty funny, but you probably know, because I know you wear chaps sometimes, right? Getting on and off tractors with chaps on for me is a pain because the straps catch levers, and it's just and I do that a lot when I'm working. I'm on and off. So I would love to get a nice, comfortable pair of pants, but I also hear that they run really hot and I run hot. So that might not be great either.
If it's between 50 and about 65 degrees, chaps are great. You put them on over your jeans, warms your legs a little bit. But if it's hot, I can't stand wearing them. And if it's really cold, I'm wearing coveralls that are thick, and it's hard to even strap around them. And then you feel like you can't move. So I've been looking at two options, which is a chainsaw pant that's lightweight and breathable, and a chainsaw coverall like this that's more insulated.
Yeah. I sometimes give myself a false sense of security with the overalls on the Carhartts, because I'm like, well, that's going to do me some protection. And it probably will some, but it's not going to do what a pair of chaps would do. But I agree. I've never put chaps over my coveralls like that I can remember.
Yes. Yeah. I swear, Neil, I see people out there. Everyone is always so concerned about if I'm wearing ear protection. One video I don't have eye protection. We
had them and we just forgot to put them on.
And that was like the number one comment. I was like, no, there are people out there with no gloves, no ears, no eyes, and no one says a word to them. But like they are on us. Major, especially me.
Especially Rachel.
Major.
They don't want Rachel to get hurt.
No.
Before I started on YouTube, I'd never seen a pair of chainsaw chaps. Nobody I know wears hearing protection, or it's like you're going to get made fun of if you go put on some safety glasses. That's just like the culture around here. And I've started, you know what? I've gotten hurt. I've gotten hit in the eye with stuff and got lucky. And I get it now. I've been trying to do a lot better job.
Yeah, I've taken a shot here or there, but I've
I
been
chainsawed my hand once.
Yeah, that's no fun. I wear gloves a lot, but I used to have some of the Kevlar chainsaw gloves, but once those wore out, I just started wearing, regular Milwaukee insulated gloves or the rubber coated gloves. But you definitely, I mean, there's risk out there, but there's risk in everything we do. So I try to keep a balanced medium in there.
Jay wears shorts and sandals.
I've seen videos like that.
And no one probably says anything to you.
That's my dad right there.
Oh, Keith.
Yeah.
Listen, I have 2 eyes and I want to keep them.
So we're 20 minutes in, and I haven't asked you guys about your tractor yet, which is kind of the main focus of my channel. So you got that big Coyote. I'd like to hear a little bit more about your tractor.
So the Coyote, when you ask me a question, you better be ready for some stories. So when I first wanted a tractor, I'm the oldest of my brothers, and my younger brother already had a tractor. They own a plumbing company. They've got a mini excavator, skid steers, tractors, all that stuff. And so when I was going to buy a tractor, I was like, I'm going to get this Kubota BX, which is a glorified lawnmower. And they're like, nope, get something bigger. It's not big enough. I said, no, it'll do everything I want it to do. They're like, whatever you think you need, get something bigger. And I was like, nope. And I went and I bought that that Kubota BX, and it was a great lawnmower and big wheelbarrow, basically, and I immediately regretted buying such a small tractor. So then my next tractor I bought was a Coyote DK35. So it was the smallest of their DK lineup. I was going to get the CK35 or 30, but then the DK35 was only like $1,500 more, and it had double the lifting capacity in the loader. So the dealer was like, why don't you get that? Because I wanted to be able to trailer it around easy enough, and it wasn't much bigger of a footprint, but had more power, more lifting capacity, all that. So I went with that one. Had to sell it when we bought the house we're currently in due to some real estate issues with our other house not selling in time and not wanting to lose this one. Then I bought another DK35 because my buddy had bought some Coyotes. He had really good luck with them. The specs on them are really good. And then I had the DK35 with no loader on it. And it worked okay, but you know how valuable a loader is. And especially something with lift capacity, because you've got your skid steer, which I would love to have one of those, or track loader. I call them skid steers. But so you've got the perfect combo with a smaller tractor and the powerful skid loader. But so I had the DK35 no loader, and I seen the tractor I have now. It's a Coyote RX 7320. It's, I believe, a 74 horsepower, and it's a great big tractor. And I wanted to be able to run a heavy duty flail mower, which required high horsepower and big lift capacity, which that has. And so I told Rachel, I was like, hey, this dealer has this tractor I want to go look at. And she says, okay. So to me, that was her giving me permission to buy it, because why would I look at it if I wasn't going to buy it if it checked out?
Story.
So I went there and it checked out. It was nice. It was owned by a greenhouse, had bought it new, and all they'd ever used it for was moving pallets around. So it wasn't worked. But because of that, they ran it at low idle all the time. And it was one of the newer tractors with the catalytic converter and the regen. It doesn't have DEF. But because of the way they ran it, they plugged the catalytic converter up and blew the turbo out. So the dealer, they just, instead of getting it fixed, they just brought it, traded it in, got a different tractor. The dealer called Coyote and they're like, oh, that's under warranty. So they put a brand new turbo on it, reman the catalytic converter, and then I bought it. So the next day I was like, hey, are you coming with me to pick up the tractor? And she's like, what do you mean?
Yeah,
and
I was like, what are
she
you
didn't know
talking
that
about?
I bought it, but I'm pretty sure that qualified as
He's
permission.
like, I told you I was going to go look at it. I was like, looking at a tractor and buying one are two different things. He's like, no, it's the same.
But so I love the power and the lift capacity of it. But honestly, I work a lot in the woods and it's too big in the woods, if that makes sense. Like, it's harder to maneuver in the woods. And I've had a few minor issues with it, or frustrating issues with it. The brackets that hold the loader have cracked, and I got them welded by a welder, which wasn't a big deal. And the dealer said that he never had seen that before. And mine actually was, I believe, the third RX 7320 that ever rolled off the line, like by the serial number. So it's one of the first ones ever made. And then I had an issue over the last 2 years where it would just quit moving forward. And I looked on the internet, I looked on YouTube, I looked on everything, and I tried to figure it out. And this guy says it's a speed sensor, and this guy says it's this. And I brought it to the dealer, and they would work on it. And they're like, oh, we fixed this. And we drove it for 8 hours doing this, and it was fine. And I pick it up, or the first time I went to pick it up, and it moved like 5 feet and quit moving. And I was like, what? And so over the course of probably 6 months, I think I had it into the dealer 3 different times. And they changed everything. They flapped solenoids. They checked the forward reverse lever. They checked everything, changed a bunch of sensors, and thought it was fixed again. And now I got it back, and it works 90% of the time. But there's times when it stops. And I know what it is now. There's a control box under the floor panel, and it's either that box or the connections to it, because they took the plug out and they cleaned it and put it back together, and it's happened way less. And now if it stops, I can just stomp on that box and it goes again. So I've got yet to have the time to take it apart and clean everything and put some dielectric grease and stuff on it and see if that solves it, or if there's a wire somewhere going to it, or it's that control box, which is a couple grand. So, but overall, I've been really happy with it, but it's not perfect. It's the machine.
What kind of hours does it have on it?
What kind of what?
Hours?
Pushing up on 2,000. So
it's more expected to have a little bit of trouble at 2,000 hours. And
yeah, but, I mean, that's the only, and I use my equipment. It's equipment. So I'm out there doing stuff I probably shouldn't a lot. So if I'm running something and it keeps working, it probably has earned that right.
Nicholas,
to answer this question real quick is yes, that's the Curtis Advantage cab. I've got it with all 3 of the door options. I usually run it without the doors unless it's really cold. Then I put the steel doors on it most of the time. I've been happy with it. As far as it's a good price point, that you can get that cab between $2,000 and $4,000 depending on how you option it and if you include the shipping. And that's well below half or a third even of a factory cab, which factory cab's nicer, but when you can do it for a third of the price, what I've got's not bad.
See, and I would love a cab in some instances, but if I had a cab, I would have ruined it by now because of how much I do in the woods. And my buddy bought the same tractor as me with a cab, brand new. And he's like, oh, I don't go in the woods much. And his second time ever going in the woods, I think smashed his back window out because his back blade hooked a tree, and boom. I was like, that's why I don't have a cab. But I'd love one for 80% of what I do, but the 20% of what I do would ruin it. So
I got that cab provided to me by Curtis as a sponsorship. And so it's a little different than paying $10,000 for a factory cab. But I've done a couple videos. One, I said I need a bulldozer for this, where I drove straight through the woods, and we couldn't even figure out where the trail was supposed to go. And I was just driving through it with my little tractor, and nothing came in and hit me, and I didn't damage the glass. So it keeps a lot of things from smacking me in the face, but eventually you're probably going to break something that way.
Yeah, I've taken a hit to the face or two going in the woods too, and that's not fun.
I also want to ask you about that grapple you have. That's a very different type of grapple. I believe it's supposed to go on the 3-point, but you've adapted it to the loader.
All right, so I've got 2 grapples. I've got a regular like root rate grapple that's a Land Pride, which that I've not. It's their heaviest. It's the 1572, I think, and it bends way too easy in my opinion. Like, it's rated for my size tractor, and the tines just don't have the strength that I feel they should. But the one you're talking about is actually, it's a ram splitter 3-point grapple that I bought back when I had that DK35 with no loader. And I believe they're I think they're 2.5 times what I paid for it now. Like, a lot of stuff has gone up. But so it's a 3-point grapple, and I still will use it on the 3-point sometimes. And it works good for that, especially if you have a smaller tractor, because the 3-points usually have a way bigger lift capacity. So it works good for, you can rotate it 90 degrees and you can leave it loose, or you can pin it in. So it worked good for skidding logs out of the woods. It works good for picking up logs and bucking them at waist level, like all that. And like I said, I think I paid $1,500 for that grapple when I bought it, which if you could do that now, it would be the steal of a lifetime. But then I also, initially I had a Titan Equipment 3-point adapter plate. So it would clip into my quick attach on the loader, and then you could hook 3-point implements to it. But it was not near rated for my near 4,000 pound lift capacity on the Coyote. And I bent it on the top and almost ripped out the mounting bracket for the top link of the 3-point. And so now I have one that I picked up in Canada off Marketplace, and it's a category 2, but I don't know what make it is because the stickers wore off it and I forgot which one it is. But that's what I'm running it on now. And I love that thing because it allows you to use 3-point implements on your quick attach. Sort of like, I know Adam from Hometown Acres has a similar thing that he can run off his mini excavator. So it just allows you to use your implements in another way, which with that grapple works great because I use it for, loading the processor, for hauling logs out of the woods, for loading my gooseneck trailer, as opposed to a set of forks, which I've seen you do. And you know how that can be when you're trying to finesse a log onto your sawmill or something like that. If it runs, or, you gotta really have good control with that, and they can tip. But this grapple, you can just grab it and set it and it goes. So
Carl.
I was actually about to ask you a question, Rachel. Are you?
That's because Heath doesn't stop talking.
I told you better be ready.
What am I gonna say? I got nothing else.
How much do you like running a tractor? Do you get on there a
He doesn't
lot?
let me run the tractor either. His saws and his tractors
She
are
can
off
run
limits.
the tractor. She rides the Massey.
I can ride the Massey, which I do like.
I would love if you ran
operating
the tractor,
Massey.
but you've run it before, and she's just now expressing interest in learning to run it more.
The only time I've run it is if he's like, I'm going to be in the bucket and I need you to lift me up in this, but don't push it this way. I'm falling right out. So it's like the most stressful situation. But no, I don't have her.
She's more than welcome to run it, but she's just recently expressed interest in it. And I don't try to push her into things that she doesn't want to do.
The Massey is fun.
That kind of sounds like in general, yeah, you can run it, but like not right now. I want to do this.
Exactly.
No, she'll be running it. She wants her own smaller tractor.
So I have that same adapter, or mine's from Artillion, that lets you put the 3-point on the front, and I think that's pretty handy. But I was watching you run that grapple. I was thinking I could never use that because it hangs down, and that grapple, you've got that swivel type, and you have to drive with your boom up in the air. And I was watching, I was like, my tractor would have flipped over by now.
Yeah, it would be a bit much for your tractor, but it would work great on your skid loader or your track loader.
Yeah. So what you feel like you've got better control of placing a log, or you can pick up more at a time? Why do you choose that over a traditional style of grapple on the loader?
I'm much better with it, maybe because I've owned it for longer, but I can pick up more logs at once, I feel. And when I cut on the grapple, you can cut down to, I don't know exactly how wide it is, but it's maybe 16 or 18 inches wide versus my other one is 72 inches, I believe. So I can cut all the way down to the grapple versus having a 6-foot or 7-foot log left when I'm done cutting. I have more control with it, and more, maybe because I've used it more, but I've used it to like sort of dig out tree stumps too, where I'll use it and claw the dirt and loosen it and then grab the stump and pull it out. Where with my other one, it's so wide, trying to get out a tree stump, you're taking out so much more than you need to.
Yeah, that's a big advantage. I watch the guys with the excavators who can trim it all the way down to a single piece in the middle. And with a regular tractor grapple, you leave so much in the center. Yeah. It's not worth messing with. I just cut them up on the ground.
Yep. And then with that log or that ram splitter grapple, I can also, like for logs, I can grab it right at the end if I turn it the other way. And so the back part of the log hits underneath the quick attach, if that makes sense. Or when it's on the 3-point, there's a cross brace there where the side 3-point lugs go in. And so you put the end of the log under that and grab it, and then you can pick it up. So the entire length of the log is out one end, and you just cut it. So you can keep putting your logs in the same place and have your rounds all, ready to go wherever you need them at. So I would, if you told me I could only keep one of my grapples, I would keep that log grapple versus my root rake grapple for what I do. And I've like hauled brush with it and drug brush with it, and because it grabs it so tight, you can get a pretty good load of brush with it. Not the same as I would with my other one, but it still does. It does a better job at that than the other one does at being a cutting grapple, if that makes sense.
Yep.
I'm guessing that's Kyle.
I'm just reading some comments here, catching up a little bit. So we're over halfway through, and we haven't even touched on what you guys mainly do on YouTube, which is the firewood equipment and the firewood business. So my first question before we get into the equipment is, before YouTube, were you doing a lot of firewood? Do you cut firewood to sell, or is this mainly just for your own use?
So how we got into firewood was we got a house, and I like saving money. So there was a fireplace in it, which was useless for heat. And I sort of built my own insert out of a wood stove. I put that in. We had a dozen dead ash trees in the yard from the emerald ash borer. And that's when the neighbor came and told me I was going to kill myself not knowing how to run a chainsaw. And I said, I'm going to cut these trees down, and I'm cutting them all up, splitting them all with an axe. Well, that didn't last too long. And I got a Husky 35-ton splitter. And then I moved on to a home-built hydraulically adjustable wedge off the end. And so it started as home heat. And then as my kids got older and they wanted money to maybe go out with a friend or to do something, like we pay for their sports, we pay for everything they need. But if they wanted extra, I didn't just hand it to them. I was like, you want money? That's fine. We got wood. I'm going to help you make it. We'll put up a roadside stand and you can sell it. It's your job to keep it stocked. It's your job to, get the wood for it. Or split the wood. I wouldn't let them run a chainsaw, like Rachel said. But so they'd take my rounds, we'd work together, split them, and fill the stand. And so that's how we started selling it, was teaching the kids to earn money instead of ask for it. And then as one kid got older, and then they were too busy with life and sports and school to keep the roadside stand filled, it bothered me to have an empty stand there. So I'm like, if you're not going to do it, I'm going to do it. And then if I did it and they're like, where's my money? I'm like, it's not your money, it's my money. So I started taking the money. And then the next kid would come along and be like, I want some money. I'm like, well, take over the firewood business. So that's what it started as, and it has just kept evolving. So unfortunately, this year I ran out of wood a long time ago because of the mud. And so I wouldn't say we have a huge firewood sales business. I don't advertise. It's all a couple of roadside stands that I've put in nice locations through friends, right, or through, I traded mowing the lawn for one location, and then that house sold, and the new owners were like, well, I want some firewood. What if you can keep it here and you just give me some wood every time you fill it? So it's like a bartering. Right. And so through that, people will call me and then order wood, and everyone that orders wood from me orders wood again, because I won't sell it unless it's ready to go. So I sell it for twice as much as a lot of people in the area, but almost everyone that buys it from me comes back, and I wasn't even able to keep up this year. So we're trying to continually improve our efficiency so we can keep up and so we don't run out. And at the same time, doing YouTube, making videos, content, showing different machines and everything to help other people decide what works best for them. So it's a rapidly growing and evolving.
How enthusiastic were the kids about that firewood business?
They're hit or miss. Like my daughter,
it depends on the kid,
yeah,
and the time. It depends on how hard up they are for money.
all of my kids are like very busy with school. They're all in like AP courses, advanced courses.
They're 4
sport athletes. So they don't have a lot of free time. But like my daughter, she went down to University of Southern Florida, and she was home for the summer, and we were coming back from a baseball tournament in Myrtle Beach, and I stopped at one of my roadside stands, and I just, it was sold out from the week we were gone. And I pulled out all the money, and she was like, you just got all that money out of there? And I was like, yeah. And she goes, can I have a roadside stand? I said, yeah, find a location for it. And so she found a location, which she ended up getting the cops called on her for.
Yeah.
And we built her a stand, and she made bundle wood with Rachel and with me, and we made bags and bundles, and she did that while she was home for the summer. But she asked,
she's like, that's
yeah,
fun.
she really liked it. But I don't make my kids do what I want them to do. I give them the options, the opportunity to do stuff. And then like my daughter, I never made her split wood. She would help when we worked, but I didn't make her do that, or I don't make her hunt. But then when she chose to, she's like, wow, that was a lot of fun. So, but then she went back to school. But she had asked her friend if she could put the stand there, and her friend failed to ask his mom, who owned the house.
Right.
So then she got home one day and there was a firewood stand in her front yard, and she called the cops because she's like, didn't know why it was there.
Who put this here in my front yard? Yeah.
So I think she got to keep it there for 2 months and then had to move it. But then she went back to college anyway. So.
Hi, Larry and Robin.
So I had a full-time manufacturing business in this building, and 2 of my adult children worked here full-time. And that was pretty cool to be able to do that. But right now I've got the equipment that there are like 4 different businesses I could go into. But what I do for a living is make videos. So I don't invest into any of those businesses like firewood or milling or tractor work. But I've got my 2 youngest that are still at home. One's a senior. And while he's going to college, I'm like, if you don't want to get a job, we can start up a business right now. If you want to work.
I tell my kids that all the time.
Right.
I can get you more than your entry level job that you're going to be able to get part-time while going to school.
Yep. And like my oldest boy, when he comes home this summer, he's like, I want to do firewood when I come home. And when he's home in the fall, this little girl right here is a deer tracker. So when people shoot deer and can't find them, they call us and we go track them. And so when he's home from school in the fall, if I'm at work or I'm unavailable, he goes and tracks, and he makes, we charge $200 to come out and look for your deer. And a lot of times people will pay us more, even sometimes when we don't find it, because the effort we put in. But so like through that or firewood, like you said, my kids have the option to make more money than they would at a regular job.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I like teaching them, like learn how to own a business or work for yourself versus being somebody's employee.
Because it's not as easy as it sounds. Like the first business I tried to start I had this business kind of, but then I tried to do a lawn care business and a bunch of different things. And you've got to dial in on the details. And it's not some easy thing, just being self-employed or having a business. And you've got to, you don't have benefits and all the tax stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. My brothers own a plumbing company, and they have gone through the roller coaster of owning a business. And I know you used to build the pitcher's mounds, which, our kids played baseball, and we very well have thrown off some of your mounds because we've thrown off some of those mounds before. So when I saw that you were building those, I was like, I wonder if that's where our league got it from. And
when I came up with that, it didn't exist online anywhere. And we sold 13,000 portable pitching mounds. It was quite a deal, but I don't miss it because it required me to do a lot of parts of that, a lot of customer service, a lot of managing employees. It was a stressful thing, even though it was a blessing overall.
Listen, we put that short into private because people were getting out of control in the comments.
Oh, what's that? Oh, Rachel.
Notice that part. I never saw it.
So
you never saw it? Wow.
It was some guys I work with. They had seen a video of a guy that he put some chaps on. He's like, I don't know, they don't feel comfortable, and he walks away and he just has the chaps on. So they dared me to do it, and I was going to do it, and I got home and Rachel's like, why don't I do it? It would be funnier. So she did the video with just the chaps and started the saw and walked away, and it was blurred. And
you don't see my butt cheeks.
It's
all pixelated.
But the pixelation looks like the worst cellulite you've ever seen. So people make a ton of comments like that. And she finally had enough, so we put it into private.
These people are out of control.
All right, this is buzzing by. We're 45 minutes in, and I haven't asked you about any of your.
You're right. You don't stop talking.
I do talk a lot, but I want to answer that question real quick. The box store splitter comparison, and that one took a lot of work because I didn't own any of those splitters, so I had to get all of them. But I want to show people as much as I can about different stuff, and I realize a lot of people aren't in the market for a commercial splitter or an entry-level commercial splitter, and that probably box store splitters make more firewood every year than the commercial splitters do because there's so many of them out there. And people pump out insane amounts of wood with those things. And so I was like, I want to see what the difference is between them all. And so that video has been, like you mentioned earlier, evergreen content. That one gets 500 views a day, almost every day of the year, all year long. So it just slowly keeps climbing. But it was, and it was a cold video to make, but it was
so
fun.
Cold that day,
and
it was miserable for me to.
It made me realize how blessed we are to have been able to buy a commercial splitter and then have some other ones to run. Because we ran 3 box store splitters, and after we got done with all the tests and the trials, we just all worked together to try to help my buddy split all of his wood before he left for work because he had to go on a couple month TDY for work, and it took forever.
Yeah.
Compared to what I was used to with the Allwood or the Easton Maids or my buddy's Wolf Ridge. So I really realized the value of stepping up like you just stepped up and do a new splitter. Like the production goes up immensely with those.
When you talk about comparing the box store splitters, I recorded content today about that power split. It's a $10,000 splitter. And my average viewer is not a professional firewood guy. They're not making a living from it. And a $10,000 splitter is out of the price range, really. And I almost feel like sometimes that content gets away from what the audience wants to see. The more you can bring it back to what the average guy is going to buy, it's a good thing.
See, and that's what I try to show, because I feel like a lot of those, like your splitter, if you have the market to be able to sell and the ability to get wood, you can recoup that 10,000 fast. But you have to have the ability to sell and the ability to get wood, or you can't. But if you're like, I see these guys that are running a box store splitter and they're like, I sell 80 cords a year. To me, you're foolish not to buy a commercial splitter, because you could either sell that 80 cords a year and save 3/4 of your year in time to do something else or spend it with your family, or you could now sell 200 cords a year. And I try to help people, I guess, realize that if they're in that position, sometimes it sounds like a big pill to swallow, that 10 grand or 15 grand, and it is. But if you have the ability, you can pay it off. And you probably, I mean, you do the YouTube and all that as much, but you can recoup that money so fast.
Because what I focus on is YouTube and I do so many things, I probably wouldn't. But if you're selling firewood as even 20% of your income, I think you should absolutely be upgrading to one of these. There's no comparison as far as how much you can produce.
And they hold their value. They go up in value. Like
the model that I have, the guy told me on the phone that the first one they ever sold was like 31 years ago or something. And they still talk to that customer. They're still using the same splitter. I mean, they've obviously replaced some parts here and there. But if you think about that cost over a long period of time and you're earning anything from it, it's a different story. So I want to hear about if you guys ever timed like how long it takes to do a cord on one of the horizontal, if you are really going after it.
So we did a thing called Splitter Wars, where we started a little challenge series because we love interacting with other channels. And so we did a thing called Splitter Wars, where Splitter Wars started as we took a Easton Made 1222 and we took a Wolf Ridge Pro 28C that my buddy had. And we tried to put the same number of rounds, same style of rounds. Like if one was knotty, the other one got a knotty, because we didn't have a dog in the fight. It was just showing which, and so we would do like that. And then after that, that was a lot of our comparison videos, like the box store splitter. It was just showing different splitters head to head, and we would, show the measurements and the weights and some of the pros and cons. Like you can tow this with a 4-wheeler, this one you need a tractor, this one you can move by hand, this one you can't, like all that. But then we started a third of a cord challenge. and people got involved in that with anything from axis to box door splitters to vertical splitters to horizontal splitters. Andrew from Easton Made did it. They flew through wood. And so we were doing how long it takes you to split a third of a cord. And it didn't matter what size round you started with, but we wanted it to end in pieces that you could pick up with one hand. Because obviously, if you're splitting a third of a cord of boiler wood, you can do it in way less time than making campfire bundle wood. So we just were like, you know what? 2 people, you can pick the splits up by hand. And I mean, splitters were getting it before we took advantage of our own rule set, and we ran both of our splitters in order to beat Andrew's time on his 24D. Right. I think Andrew did his third of a cord on his 24D in under 3 minutes for a third of a cord. Like, that's not real world splitting conditions. That's probably not the safest, but fun race conditions.
Ours was like around 5 or 6.
Yeah, with our all wood with an 8-way wedge, we did a third of a cord in just over 5 minutes. I know Jeff and Patty from Mountaintop Outdoors, they did a third of a cord, and I believe it was in the 3s or 4s.
And they're 37D.
And then Phil from Allen Family Firewood,
he was a maniac.
His Buster, his vertical splitter that has a 2-second cycle time, and he did it on like a 90-degree day, and I thought he died, but he did it, I want to say, in the 7s with a vertical machine. But so that was a lot of fun, and it showed a lot of, because I can't run every splitter that I'd love to, but it allowed people to just show what they could do. Like, some people are like, well, I only got a box store splitter. I'm like, well, put it out there and see what you can do.
See what it does.
You know, and it would take them close to an hour. And that's what it used to take me to do a third of a cord was an hour. But now, like with our horizontal machines, we had the 1222, and then we've got the all wood working at just a regular pace. If we've got the rounds ready, we can probably do I would say, I mean, we do a third of a cord in under 10 minutes pretty easily without racing.
I like running the splitters. I don't like standing there not doing anything. I hate when I have to film instead of doing the work, truly. So I do like running the splitters. I like splitting the wood. I have an axe to split wood because I did chop down a tree. But I did chop down a tree with an axe.
But I will say, like, with these high production horizontal machines without an elevator, it's hard to get the production out of it. Where with the vertical machines, and this is, I think you said you watched that video the other day, if it's the one I'm thinking of, where I talked about the differences between a horizontal and a vertical. With a vertical, you can get real close to the production ability out of it with one person, which I think is huge because a lot of people are one-person shows. You don't have to pick the wood back up to put it in the IBC tote. You know, you split it and you turn and you put it where it goes, and that's it. It's done until you're ready to burn it, which I think is a huge advantage to the verticals.
So I've recorded a video that was talking about the advantages of the vertical splitter, and then I watched yours and I was like, wow, this is better. Dang it.
Well, thank you. I do appreciate that.
But when you're saying the times on that third of a cord, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 7 minutes, I'm like, I haven't done a time test on the new vertical splitter, but with just the homeowner splitter, which I saw you get your finger pinched, but on just the homeowner splitter, I was like 45, 50 minutes.
And that's what most people
get. To me, I wouldn't count it unless the wood is stacked, you know, where if for speed, you're just throwing it on the ground. So not that you could time it either way and compare either way, but the way I timed it was all the way through.
See, and that would be even a bigger advantage, like I just said, to the vertical splitters, because you stack as you finish, you know, where the horizontals, especially if you were one person, you split it into a pile and then you have to go restack. So like when we did that third of a cord challenge, we didn't count the stacking as part of the time, which we actually thought about doing because of what you just mentioned. But back then when we did it, it was just, we stacked it just to show that you had a third of a cord. And that's what most people did. And a lot of times, and this is what I still see people argue about, and I was surprised when I did these tests, if you stack a third of a cord of rounds and then split it, I always thought it would shrink, and it actually grows. So most people, when they did the third of a cord challenge, you would stack a 4x8 wall of rounds and then split them. And then when you restacked it, you were always over a third of a cord, which I thought would go the other way. And a lot of people think would go the other way until you do it and you realize that it actually grows as you split it because it's more air gaps instead of less.
Whenever I made, so that splitter's sponsored, and I had a couple of options at the time. And the reason I went with that style, I wanted the vertical splitter, is I'm never going to be in a hurry and I'm always going to be by myself. I wanted a routine that felt convenient and comfortable for me. I don't want to go back to the pile after I take it off the splitter.
Yeah, and that's a huge pro for those.
Yeah, no, I love our vertical splitter. And when I hurt myself, I wasn't going fast. It
was Apple, which just, if you hit knots with those, you gotta, it'll kick a little bit. And we've learned, like Phil from Allen Family Firewood, I don't know if you've watched his channel, but he has a 2-second home built vertical splitter with it had a 2-second cycle time, and he ended up cutting one of his thumbs off.
Right.
But it helps other people learn.
That's why I said be careful.
He didn't do it splitting. I mean, he actually did it moving a giant oak round, and he inadvertently stepped on the pedal as he was moving it. Well, at 2 seconds, you don't have time to do that. So it cost him there, but it also allowed me then, and I asked Andrew about it from Easton Made, and I believe your splitter does it, where you can adjust the height. And I did a video on this too, like showing how not only does that make it a little bit faster, but in my opinion, what's more important is that it adds a safety element to it, because if you get that wedge closer to where your round is, it's going to be harder to inadvertently get your hand in there. And so I asked Andrew, I was like, is this something that you designed this way on purpose, or was it just for speed? And he said it was just for speed, but I think the safety aspect of it is more important, looking at Phil's mistake, which is one thing I love about YouTube is you can learn from someone else's mistake instead of having to make it yourself, which is why we share our mistakes, because I make them, and people will blast me for them. But if I can make it and save you from making it, then I count that as a win anyways, even if people say I'm an idiot.
Here's a comment. I want to see if you guys agree with me. I think it's mostly accepted, but on the vertical splitters, people comment on my video all the time, put a 4-way on there, put a 6-way on there, save you a bunch of time.
The only one I've seen that maybe makes sense like that is the one that Outdoors with the Morgans was running, that Australian one, which I believe somebody said is in the $30,000 price range. And it's like a box wedge sort of, where the extra wings only go off the back. Because I say that having a 4-way or a 6-way on a vertical machine is a recipe for losing fingers.
Well, and I say the benefit, like the beautiful thing about having a vertical, is being able to make that small bundle wood. And you're not doing that if you have the 4-way or 6-way.
And you're going to get more stuff stuck on it.
Yeah.
But more importantly, I think it would be so much easier to make that one mistake if you have wings out the side to lose fingers. And to me, the speed wouldn't be worth that. The verticals, I think they shine in, making that perfect precision splits wherever you want.
There's like no waste. You just split it exactly where you want it, how you want it, and then put it right where you need it.
And I think if having multi-split wedges on those was a great idea, they'd be out there more than they are.
Yeah.
Well,
so mine, I could have got it either way. And I was like, from what I've seen, I don't think I want one.
No, and I know they make the one, and they're, I think, maybe the only company that makes it, but I've only seen a handful of videos with it being run.
Isn't that Australian one where you don't you have to hold it with both hands to run it, so your hands aren't even near the wood?
That one is a very, anything, if you look at any of the European stuff, it's so much safer than ours, which Americans hate because it's less efficient, but it is safer.
So
like that, what was that?
Power split. He said 90% of the models they sell have a conveyor and a seat, and you drive them to the wood pile. And I was like, that's so far, like, it'd be cool, but it's so far out of the range. The splitter I have is at the very top of what most of my viewers would ever spend on a splitter. So I wanted their base unit, but it made me wonder, because I like to split straight off of stack straight off the splitter into the tote and have it right there. Would you want a conveyor on a vertical splitter?
I personally, because I don't have it on our axis, and I can see where it would be nice, but I feel like it sort of takes away some of the benefit, which is, like you said, when we split with our vertical, a lot of times we are splitting either bundle wood or smoker wood. And as we do that, we're also making then just roadside stand wood, or you can also do boiler wood with it pretty easily. But we separate as we go. So you take a few pieces that are the outside edge or the knotty pieces, and those just go into the roadside stand or wood stove wood. But then you take all your premium pieces and you just turn and put them right into the bundle wood tote. Whereas if you had a conveyor and you shoved it all into there, you'd have to separate it afterwards or separate it when you were making your bundles. So I feel like it's much less of a benefit on a vertical than on a horizontal. On a horizontal, without a conveyor, you're not going to get the benefits of a commercial horizontal splitter, especially with one person, because you're constantly having to move the wood. And like when I try to keep up with her when she's splitting and I'm trying to stack, you can't do it. But with the vertical, the conveyor, in my opinion, is much less of a benefit, or maybe not even a benefit at all, the way we run it.
So I'm confident we could go 3 hours and not run out of things to talk about.
Oh, I can talk.
We're at an hour in, which is where I like to cut it off. So I was going to say, give you guys a minute. If you have anything you want to tell, either tell the viewers about your channel or anything else you want to say, put it out there.
First, I just want to say thank you for inviting us on.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
You know, and I got a little knife here for you that we laser engraved with the Hardworking Man logo. This is the little money clip that I use. It's just a SOG knife, and I use it as a money clip, but I'll get your address and send you that just as a thank you, because we do appreciate it. And other than that, you know, if you don't know what our channel is or what it's all about, it's just us out there doing what we do. A lot of firewood, some outdoor cooking, whatever we're doing, you know, trying to show different equipment. Like I've got a Belfour Samurai buzz saw because I couldn't find any information on it, if it was a good investment for firewood or not. Over in Europe, they used them a lot. Here in America, you couldn't find anything on it. So I bought one to try it out, and I really do like it. And there's some stuff I don't like about it, but a lot of people that have seen it are like, where can I get one? Where can I get one? Where can I get one? Because now they can see what it can and can't do. So we like doing videos like that, like whether it's getting saws ported or the buzz saw that you can't find, or the all wood log splitter that not many people knew about until I accidentally found it. And just showing people stuff that we find, and whether I buy it or somebody reaches out to us and sends it to us, if it's a good idea or a bad idea, like the power split kinetic splitter that we got. That's one of the few products I've had on my channel that I feel good every time someone comments, like, I was considering this and now I'm not, because I just saved you a huge headache.
Right.
You know, so we're all about helping people, having fun, being educational, but being entertaining and just out doing what we do. So, and interacting with people. We love it.
It's a really good channel. And I'll tell you guys, if this is your first time seeing them in the videos, he lets Rachel talk a lot.
Right.
As much as he wants, I think.
That's because I edit him out.
People do. We get comments. They're like, can you please stop talking? I'm like, I'm sorry.
I'm that way too in the videos. I have to cut most of what I say out.
Yeah.
Hey, Nathan was on here and gave us a super chat. I really appreciate it. I'm going to end this live stream. I thank everyone for being on here. And if you guys want to hang around, we can chat a little bit after the stream's over.
All righty.
All right. But yeah, thanks for all the people that are in the live
thanks for
chat.
tuning in, everybody.
A lot of names that I recognize and a lot that I don't. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. And if you didn't know us, you learned something about us. And if you didn't know Brock, you learned a little bit about him. So
I think we're going to see a bunch of you this weekend also.
Yeah, we'll be this weekend at Brad from Firewood at the Furnace, weather permitting and all travel working out down in Maryland. We're going to go down there to his little event because we love meeting people and interacting. And that's what all these communities are all about.
That's great. Well, we'll see everyone on the next one.
Okay, bye, everybody.
Bye.